Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. Today's video I'm here to talk about Rob Edwards. Everyone is talking about him. Some of the fan base want him gone, want him sacked. There's early calls for it. And in today's video I'm wanting to talk about him because I've noticed, and so have plenty of others, there's a little bit of a difference in the way he's acting as Luton Town manager. And I want to talk about what's going to happen next. What is the future of Rob Edwards? Will he stay? Will he go? Talk about what's happened previously. And yeah, just have like a proper chat about him. So let's start off with when he first came to the football club. He made one or two changes. He inherited a very good squad. The squad that was capable of winning promotion to the Premier League. And he did exactly that. He did make one or two changes to that team. He brought in, obviously, Nakamba, and Nakamba played a massive role in Luton winning promotion to the Premier League. And he managed to get our wing-backs a lot more forward. We ended up being a lot more attacking. Morris and Elijah were scoring a lot more goals. Overall, we were performing better and we went on a fantastic run of form that got us into those playoff positions. And you could argue with an extra 5 or 6 games, we probably would have competed with Sheffield United a lot better for that second spot in the table. But we did it, which people argue, the better way, by going to Wembley and winning at Wembley against Coventry in that penalty shootout, which we will all remember for the rest of our lives. So, starts off being the manager of Luton very well. The Premier League. This is when things get a little bit interesting, and lots of things obviously happened during that Premier League season. We carried on playing the same way which we were playing in the Championship, but in the first opening couple of Premier League matches, it was difficult. It was extremely difficult, and we all knew the task of the Premier League. We all knew that if he was to keep us up in the Premier League, it would arguably be one of the greatest ever achievements. And people may look at that and go, what? No way. But with Luton Town's finances, the income which we earn as a football club, the size of the football club compared to the other teams in the Premier League, honestly, it would have been one of the biggest. But people belittle Luton anyway, and they would have belittled that achievement. So he already had a tough ask. He did change the formation after a while because he did notice it just wasn't working. And we ended up moving to the current formation, which we're actually playing now in the Championship, which is the 3-4-3 formation. Performances start looking a lot better. He gets a good partnership with Lokonga and Barkley in the midfield. And from November, I would say the end of November all the way to February, we were actually a really good side. We were picking up wins. We were putting in really good performances. Ideally, we needed that to go on for another 6 to 7 game weeks. But unfortunately, a massive injury crisis did happen, which left Luton in a really poor situation because we were unable to really show what we could potentially do in the Premier League against these really top sides without our best players. But before we did have that injury crisis, especially in the defence, we did lose our captain, our leader, Tom Lockyer. And I can't imagine what that would have done to the players and also to Rob Edwards as well, because they all have a special connection with him. I've seen interviews with Lockyer and Edwards, and you can tell Edwards, you know, it impacted him quite a lot. And it impacted us all in different ways, but it impacts the manager and also the players a lot more than it does to us because they have a much closer connection to Lockyer. So he's been through a lot, is basically what I'm trying to say. So I can't imagine what it's been like over the last 18 months because it hasn't just happened once, has it? It's happened twice. So it's been tough for Luton and for Edwards himself, and it would have taken a lot of emotional and physical stuff out of him really. So we lost Lockyer, but obviously we still had to focus on the task on hand after we knew he was safe and he was all in good health. We then carry on the Premier League season towards the back end, and we were just losing week after week, conceding far too many goals. Had an injury crisis in defence, as I already mentioned. but we were very stubborn, and I'm going to use this word quite frequently in this video. We were stubborn because we kept playing with 3 centre-halves despite not actually having 3 available centre-halves to choose from. That for me was a big mistake, that we didn't then again change the formation. We carried on playing with 3 centre-backs, and for me, I do think that did have an impact in us going down. Now I know there's a strong argument, well, if a system's working, keep playing it, but I felt at the time, and I was very vocal on it, that we should have changed our formation to what we had available to us. These are professional footballers, they are quite smart, you know, they are intelligent, they can adapt, they can change, but we didn't really do that. And then we ultimately got relegated from the Premier League, which a lot of us thought was going to happen, but we did give it a really good go. And that was the one thing I wanted from Luton was, okay, if we are going to go down, at least give it a go, at least try and stay up. And I did think we did. Unfortunately, injury crisis happened. If we didn't have that injury crisis, I do think we would have done a lot better than what we did, and we would have put Nottingham Forest on their toes a lot more. Who knows? But ultimately, we got relegated. And we ended up, obviously, preparing for this current championship season. But the preparation throughout the summer was a little bit weird, and we've been very vocal about this. I thought pre-season was a little bit off in terms of performances and also results. I know pre-season is all about getting players fit, but even watching us in pre-season, it didn't look right. It didn't feel right compared to previous seasons when watching Luton. So that was also an issue there. He also put a lot of expectation on himself. I know, of course, when a team gets relegated from the Premier League, a lot of people's expectations are, yes, they have to be competing back up to try and win promotion back. But when your manager comes out and says, oh, I want to win the Premier League, I want to do this, I want to do that, you're putting a lot of expectation and a lot of pressure on yourself. And that's what I feel like he's feeling. I do think he's feeling the pressure, and you can tell by his body language in interviews, in the dugout. He doesn't look right. He looks absolutely shattered. He does look like he's actually gonna walk. I feel like it's getting a bit too much for him at times. Whether that's having an impact in, whether that's impacting him or making the correct decision, I don't know. But it's not looking good. And I'm not a body language expert, but he doesn't look like his usual self. There's been a massive change in his aura. And I do feel like the pressure has massively got to him, but I do think he's put that on himself. The fans' expectations, I feel like, were always going to be, well, this is the first time we've got money, we're going to expect to win a lot more matches, which I do think is a reasonable thing to expect. However, I'm not expecting to be challenging for the league. I was never like, right, we have to challenge for the league. My thoughts were, we have to be back where we were last time, which was challenging for a playoff position or a top 10 finish. That's where my expectations were, because we recruited extremely well, I felt, in the Premier League, preparing us for when we came back down to the Championship. When I look at the performances which I've seen so far this season, there's only 3 players for me that kind of stand out. Alfie, I think, has been our best player. He's created the most opportunities, and I don't think we've taken those opportunities. Amari Bell, I'm not his biggest fan, as you guys already know, but when he's played, I thought he's looked really good. He's played as a left wing back and also as a centre half. And I think this is going to cause a few people to be a little bit controversial here, but I feel like McGuinness hasn't done too much wrong. Apart from the goal against QPR, I don't think he's performed that badly. I think he looks dangerous from set pieces. I think he has defended quite well. I think he has won his battles well. Tackles. I just think the system makes our centre-halves look really poor, but I don't think he's actually been poor himself. So those are the 3 players I think I've picked out on, but the rest have performed way below average this season. And I just feel like now we're at a point where we're all asking the question, we need to change formation, we need to change the system. And what worries me is he didn't change the system or formation when we had an injury crisis in defence. I'm a little bit worried that he's not going to do it now when we need to do it the most. Now, I have no issue with the 3 at the back system, but the 2-man in midfield, that ain't working. So you need to add an extra body there. Do you take a body from the attacking areas, or do you take a body from the defensive areas to add another player in that midfield? That's up to the manager's decision. But when I look at all the top teams in the Championship, in the Premier League, in fact, majority of the teams in the Premier League, everyone's now playing a back 4 nowadays. I think we've gone away from this 3 at the back system, which a lot of the Italian coaches were bringing to the Premier League. Not many teams are now doing that in the Premier League, especially in English football. It is a back 4 now. So I don't understand why we don't kind of just follow the trend and just play with a back 4. We've got the players to do it. We've got quality to do it. I feel like our squad's very adaptable to playing multiple positions. Now, he is going to make players unhappy by dropping them. But competition for me is healthy. It raises everyone's standard. And at the moment, there's not many players you can actually say in our team that deserves to be starting, because a lot of players have been performing really poor. And also, we do have injuries now. Anderson looks like he's injured for a while. Menji, I feel like, has been carrying injuries and just been fighting through it since last season. So he looks like he's going to have some time away. So if now, and also Bell's also out injured, so I feel like now is the perfect time to actually, you know what, why don't we switch to a 4 at the back system and see how well that does. For me, the next 3 games for Rob Edwards is the most important 3 games in his Luton Town career. If we don't win our next 3 games, or get a win at any point, he's going to be in trouble. Fans will call for it, and I already think it's going to happen on Tuesday night against Oxford. I honestly think if Oxford get the first goal, I think it's going to be really toxic in the stands. And I think if Oxford walk away with 3 points, I feel like fans are going to turn. More and more fans are going to turn. We then have Sheffield United on the weekend, which is going to be a massive ask. But what's more bigger than those 2 games is the derby game at home against Watford. And right now, I'm not comfortable playing them right now, especially after them beating Sunderland. I really don't want to play them right now. And I know in a derby anything can happen, but that's the one game where if we perform like we have been against them, it's gonna the players are gonna get it, but Edwards will get it. And if we don't win the next 3 games and we were to lose against Derby, in the Derby game against Watford, that could sack him. And which would be quite ironic, because Watford sacked him. He then comes to us, wins us promotion, comes back, we go back down, we play Watford, and then they could end up, in theory, sacking him again by them beating us. That could end up happening, and oh my god, that would just be absolutely mental. But that could happen. There's actually a realistic chance that could happen right now because of what we've seen so far. This isn't me being over the top here. It's not looking good. Now, look, as fans, yes, we're entitled to have opinions and stuff, expectations and whatnot, but I don't think it's too much of an ask to see us compete like we were doing when we, was back in the Championship last time. We are far from doing that. Now, I understand the argument of we are slow starters, and we have been for ever since I've been supporting the football club. But even then, when we've started slowly in the past, like under Nathan Jones and under John Steele, although the results weren't there, performances were there, and there was a clear style of play. Right now, I don't see the style of play, I don't see performances, and I don't see results. That's what worries me the most. When teams get relegated from the Premier League, they do one or 2 things. They get rid of half the squad, or they get rid of the manager. We haven't done either of those 2 things. So I want to leave the video on that point. He has got to step up, Edwards. He has got to make the right decisions. I could let him off if he actually did change the formation and system and switch to a 4, or switch the formation altogether for the game against Oxford. I could forgive him if, he tried, he changed it, and we still weren't getting the results. I can give him the benefit of the doubt a little bit. But the next 3 games. So it's the most important in his Luton Town career. It really is, because I don't think if he doesn't win, I think he's gone. I really do. But those are my thoughts on the situation with Rob Edwards. Let me know what you think. He did sign a long-term contract. I've just remembered now as I'm finishing this video, he signed a long-term contract, so it's going to be a massive payoff if Luton were to sack him. I think it was a 4-year deal or something. So let's see what happens, but I really hope he can change it around, because he does come across as a nice guy, but nice guys in football don't last long, I've been told. So look, fingers crossed it all does change. But yeah, those are my thoughts. Let me know your thoughts down below, and I'll see you guys in the match preview that will be coming out tomorrow.